Next spring's election for Wisconsin Supreme Court will in all likelihood feature two judges who serve on the same court and work just feet away from each other. The Supreme Court will have an open seat when Justice Shirley Abrahamson retires next year. Abrahamson is being treated for cancer. The two announced candidates are Appeals Court Judge Brian Hagedorn of Oconomowoc, who was on this program 2 weeks ago, and Chief Appeals Court Judge Lisa Neubauer of Racine. And Judge Neubauer joins us now on Up Front. Judge, good to have you on the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. I'm honored to be here. I'm really thrilled to have this opportunity to speak with you about my candidacy for the Wisconsin Supreme Court.
Well, let's talk a little bit about it. When Judge Hagedorn was here, he said, in all likelihood, if it's the two of you competing for this seat, it will be a race about judicial philosophy. Do you share that view? And what is your philosophy? How would you describe it?
Well, it's really, my philosophy is really part of the impetus and the motivation for me to run. I really feel that our courts need to be fair, impartial, and independent. So what does that mean? It means that everybody that comes before our Supreme Court has to have a fair shake. There has to be a level playing field. We have to follow the law. No ideology, no bias, no predetermined outcome. And that's the kind of judge that I've been on the Court of Appeals for over 10 years now. And that is the kind of justice that I will be if I'm honored to be elected to the court by the people of the state of Wisconsin.
I talked to Judge Hagedorn a little bit about this next item, and I'll ask you for your opinion on it too, because Judge Rebecca Dallet won in her race against Michael Skrenok. There is this feeling that provided a roadmap for candidates who might not describe themselves as judicial conservatives, a roadmap for those candidates to win. Do you intend to follow a similar roadmap that Rebecca Dallet used in her race?
Well, I'm going to really just focus on my race, my experience, my qualifications. You know, I was a commercial litigator for 19 years at one of the state's largest law firms before I joined the Court of Appeals in 2008. I've got thousands of decisions and a 10-year track record. I've been involved in, you know, hundreds of written decisions. And I think that my record shows that I am someone who very strongly believes in our court system, that it must be fair, impartial, and independent. So I've been really honored to have the support of over 225 judges who have come forward this early, a full 7 months out before the April election, to support my candidacy. 20 of my colleagues on the Court of Appeals. These are the people that know my work the best and know my record.
It was interesting in the last race where Justice Dallet talked about her values. Will you talk about values in this campaign?
Sure. I think that the people of Wisconsin need to know that our justices on the Supreme Court will protect the rights of all the people of Wisconsin, and that we will protect the democratic values that we hold to be so sacred in this state and in this country.
How do you put the politics in these races aside? I asked Judge Hagedorn about his association with Governor Walker. He served as his legal counsel. He responded by saying, I can set that aside. And, Judge Neubauer has given money before she was a judge to Democratic candidates. She comes from a strong Democratic family. How do you set that aside? How do you convince people you will truly be independent given your past as a citizen?
Yeah, well, Mike, I know that he talked about my family, and I'm really proud of the ways in which every one of my family has contributed to our community, whether publicly or in other ways. But for me, I've chosen the judiciary, and I fully appreciate and understand that this is the branch of government that is impartial and independent. And I have a 10-year track record of showing that that's the kind of judge I've been and the kind of justice I will be.
One of the things you talked about when you announced your candidacy is you said you would hope that some of the special interest groups who tend to spend heavily in these kinds of races will stay out of this one.
Yes.
Do you have any reason to believe they will stay out? How do you get them to stay out?
Well, again, as you said, when I announced in July, I did call on special interest money to stay out. And I also called on anyone who joined this race to do the same, to call for that. This outside money has been frankly, so toxic. You know, it runs down the court system in the minds of the public. It really undermines the public's confidence in our judicial system. And we only have the confidence of the public in our court system that it's going to be fair and impartial. So I have called on outside money to stay out, and I hope they will.
Mm-hmm. Final question, and I asked Judge Hagedorn about this. The two of you work very closely together. It sets up sort of an interesting race. Can it still be a civil race, given the fact that there's going to be a lot of pressure from a lot of different places being put on the two of you? Can you still maintain that degree of civility in a race like this?
Sure, it can. Again, we have a long history on our court of being collegial. We understand institutionally how important it is to getting, good discussions, good unified decisions that give clear guidance to the people and the public. So yes, collegiality is important to me, and we will continue to be collegial.
Judge Lisa Neubauer, we appreciate your time today. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.
When we come back, is there public support for prison reform?